Hello bookworms! Today I'm going to be sharing my 12 books to read in 2024 or my 2024 TBR. I prefer making a list of 12, which is one book a month, versus the 24 and 24 kind of list, because at heart, I am definitely a mood reader, and if I put too many books on this list, I tend to get overwhelmed and not really look at it, which is not good. Last year was actually the first year that I came really close to completing my list. So of my 12, I read 10, which I would say is like pretty good. So all of the books that I'm going to talk about are books that I currently own physical copies of, and all of them have been on my TBR since before 2024 started. I like to include a good mix of genres on this list. I feel like having a list that is more like well-rounded means that there's a better chance of me actually completing my list. If I focus too much on one genre and then I don't feel like reading that genre, then that's basically like setting myself up for failure. So yeah, I feel like I have a good mix going here, and let's get into it. The first book on my list is actually one of my last acquisitions from 2023. I got this during the Barnes & Noble hardcover sale, and that is Stone Cold Fox by Rachel Collar Kraft. This one is a thriller that is one that I really wanted to get to during 2023. It's a new 2023 release, but I just ended up never picking it up. I'm really excited to do so. We are following a woman who has spent her entire life being a con woman alongside her mother, but she is ready to leave her dark past behind, and she ends up meeting this guy, and she's going to be marrying one of the wealthiest men in the country, but obviously her past is going to like haunt her a little bit. She's going to have to try to keep everything about herself from her new family, but with how much power and wealth they have, it seems like pretty likely that they'll be able to discover her past. I've heard really great things about this book, and I'm also really looking forward to her 2024 release, which is about vampires. Next on my list is The Fine Print by Lauren Asher, and this is the first book in the Dreamland Billionaires series, and this series is like a romance series for people who love Disney. The main character, the female love interest, is basically like an Imagineer, and the male love interest is basically like essentially if Walt Disney had kids, like he would be one of the three guys that is inheriting. It's following the two of them. The girl, I think, gets drunk and sends like a proposal and criticizes the theme park's most expensive ride. And then instead of getting fired, she gets offered her dream job, and she has to work very closely alongside Rowan, and he is a very difficult boss, and the two of them definitely fall in love. Next on my list is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the first book in a YA thriller series. There are 4 books in total and 1 short story or 1 novella, and these are some of the only Jennifer Lynn Barnes books that I haven't read. I have thoroughly enjoyed every book that I have read from her up until this point. I still really love her Fixer series and really wish that we would have gotten a 3rd book in that one. I think like she's gotten really popular with the Inheritance games, which is great because I'm glad to see her finally getting some like attention and acclaim. And now people have gone back and revisited The Naturals and are really enjoying it. And I'm kind of hoping people will do the same with the Fixer. And then I also really liked her Debutante series. But this one follows a teenager who is really good at like reading people and situations, and she gets approached by the FBI in order to join a program that they have where they're using teenagers to crack cold cases. So it's obviously something that you need to suspend a little bit of disbelief for, but I'm really excited. I think that I'm really going to enjoy it. I've seen such great reviews of the series, and I plan on reading all 4 of them. I wouldn't be surprised if I read them all back to back, but yeah, very excited to have this on my TBR for the year. Next on my list is Mary Jane by Jessica Anya Blau. I'm not usually like a historical reader. That's really not a genre that I reach for. However, this one just sounds so intriguing. So we are following a girl who is the nanny for this family. Her family is very like uptight, straight-laced, and the family that she is nannying for is very progressive. At their house, they're also hiding a rock star and his famous wife for the summer, and she is the babysitter for that family's children. So she is introduced to all of this stuff that she would never be exposed to in her own household, and it's a coming of age story about her growing up in the 1970s in Baltimore. And what really intrigues me about this one is that the comp titles for it are Almost Famous, which is one of my favorite movies ever, and Daisy Jones and the Six, which is one of my favorite books ever. So I have like really high hopes for this one. It's also gotten really good reviews. Again, I'm not really much of a historical reader, but this just sounds like it would be so like made for me. Then I have Blush by Jamie Brenner, and this one I'm really excited about reading because number one, it takes place on Long Island, and I love Long Island, so I'm excited to read something set here. And number 2, it follows a family that owns a vineyard. And for those who don't know, like vineyards are so popular on Long Island. There are so many of them out east here. I think there might be like more than 20. Like there's a lot of vineyards on Long Island. We love our wine. So this one takes place on the North Fork, and it follows 3 generations of women who find that these like scandalous books of their past might actually be the key to their future, because their vineyard is currently struggling and they are looking for a solution to try to save their family business. And I have a feeling that it's probably going to talk about places that I know and love, and I'm just really excited to like read something with a setting that I already know I'm going to enjoy so much. Then I think I left my copy upstairs, but next on my list is As If, the Oral History of Clueless. And this is a book all about the behind the scenes, the making of Clueless, the movie, which I really love. I actually rewatched it in 2023 and enjoyed it just as much as I did back when it first came out. But I feel like I've been having so much fun reading like entertainment centric books this year, like especially just like dissecting the things like the pop culture from my past that I really love. I feel like I've done like a lot of pop culture deep dives, and I'm really excited to listen to this one. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's also going to make me feel very nostalgic, and it'll probably inspire me to watch Clueless yet again. Then I have The Rules for Disappearing by Ashley Elston. This is one that's been on my TBR for so long, and it's one of those situations where like if you have a favorite author, like you don't want to read everything that they've written only because you don't want to not have something by them on your TBR at any given time. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone else, but that happens to me a lot. Like I hate when I finish reading a backlist. Like for instance, this year I read Abby Jimenez's entire backlist of books, and like now I don't have any Abby Jimenez books until her next one comes out, and it's like torturous. But anyway, I want to do it anyway. I have been putting this one off for so long. Ashley does have another book coming out this year too called First Lie Wins, and it's her first adult thriller, and I'm also like really excited to read that. I'm probably gonna read that first, but I think it's like time that I get to this one, and it's actually a duology. So this is the first book in the series. The second one's called The Rules for Breaking. We are following a main character who is a teenager. She's in the witness protection program, and her family has been moved. I think it's like 6 times now. They've had 6 different identities, and now they are moving on to their next one. They're going to be in Louisiana, and she doesn't know what it is that her father did or saw that led them to be in this situation where they have to constantly be moving and on the run. Nonetheless, it's obviously affected her entire life. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody like discovers what's going on because it's a thriller, so I could see that happening. But that's really all that I know about it, and I'm really excited to read it. Next on my list is Mad Ship by Robin Hobb. This is the second book in the Live Ship Traders trilogy. I loved the first book. It's so amazing, and I'm so excited to read the second book. I think it's going to be so good. I would not be surprised if this ends up becoming one of my favorite trilogies of all time, because just with the first book, I fell so deeply in love, and I think the series can only get better from here. We are following characters on like a seafaring pirate kind of adventure. They are traders. They trade up and down the Rainwild River, which has kind of like these serpents or sea dragons. Like it's just so cool. It's such an inventive series and such a blast, and I love the characters. Next on my list is To Sir Philip with Love by Julia Quinn. This is the 5th book in the Bridgerton series. As I mentioned before, like I'm really not much of a historical reader, although I do have 3 historical books on this list. But I seem to be reading like 1 Bridgerton book a year despite wanting to just finish the series already. So next up for me is With Sir Philip with Love. I think I'm really going to enjoy it. I'm probably going to read it closer to when the next season of Bridgerton is coming out, which I think is in May. That way I'll be like hyped for the next season. I actually don't even know who this one follows or anything. I want to say it's Francesca. Let's see. This is the Afterlight edition, so there's no like synopsis on here. Oh no! Oh, it's Eloise. I love Eloise. That's exciting. Okay, very excited to read this one now. Then the last historical fiction book on my list is Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've enjoyed all of Taylor Jenkins Reid's most recent books, so I'm expecting that I'll enjoy this one as well. The reason that I've been putting this one off is also because it's like about tennis, and that just doesn't sound that intriguing to me, though she tends to be really good at like making you love something that you don't really care about. So I think there's potential for me to love this book. I've heard that Carrie is kind of like a frustrating heroine. She just kind of like says whatever she's thinking, and I believe she's like trying to make a comeback in her tennis career despite maybe being like a little bit older and having to compete with like the younger people who are coming in to kind of like take her place in the top spot. So yeah, looking forward to reading this. Next up, I have The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. I'm so excited to read this one. This is the 10th anniversary edition, so it's the edition that is like extremely heavily revised, and I think that reading this will give me a much better shot at enjoying the series. I love knowing that Samantha went back after years of having written this, 10 years, and just made it better and like made it into a better opener for the series, fleshed it out with more details. I believe like there's more characters that you're introduced to now in the first book than there were in the previous edition. And I just think it's really cool that she like went back and did that, because writers usually just kind of, they write, they put it out, and then they're on to the next thing. And she's still actively writing the series. So this is a good way to really like draw in new readers and to, you know, get old readers re-excited about it. We are following a character named Paige, who is a clairvoyant, and she's like a dream walker, and that's something that is illegal in this world. And she ends up getting imprisoned for murder. And it's there that I think she meets this like guard, and I believe that they fall in love with each other. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to like rebel or something at some point, or I don't know what's gonna happen, but I think there's like some kind of forbidden romance between the two of them. But it sounds really good. I'm excited, and I also really want to read this before the Broken Binding announces the next books that they're going to be doing, because I want to see if I need to buy those. And then the final book on my 12 to read list is Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. This is the second book after Fourth Wing. I enjoyed Fourth Wing. I didn't enjoy it as much as some other people, but I did really enjoy it, and it definitely stuck, like the characters definitely stuck with me a lot longer than characters in some of the other books that I read last year. So I am really excited to continue this series. I have heard like pretty mixed reactions on this one, so I'm curious how I'm going to feel about it. I feel like my expectations probably aren't as high as some other people's just because of my feelings toward the first book, but I do really hope that I'm one of the people that falls on the side of liking it. I just think it's like a really fun series. We're following two people who are dragon riders at this dragon college, and the dragons are so fun. The dragons are like telepathic. Each person is like bonded to one dragon, and there's like this war going on, and there was a big like reveal at the end of the first book that I totally saw coming, but it was still like fun to have it added. It just kind of made me feel like nostalgic for like the YA of years past. So I just think that it's fun, and I'm really hoping that I'm going to like this one too. So those are my 12 books to read. Let me know if you read anything that I mentioned, or if you think there's anything that I should like really prioritize over anything else on the list. But that is all that I have for this video, and I will see you guys soon in a new one. Bye!